let's run like Ahimaaz. He was the son of Zadok, and he wanted to bring good news to his king. 2 Samuel 18:19, then said Ahimaaz, the son of Zadok, let me now run and bear the king tidings, how that the Lord hath avenged him of his enemies. This was after the coup of Absalom had been put down and Absalom had been killed. And Ahimaaz wanted to tell the king. And Joab said unto him, thou shalt not bear tidings this day, but thou shalt bear tidings another day. But this day thou shalt bear no tidings, because the king's son is dead. Then said Joab to Cushi, go tell the king what thou hast seen. And Cushi bowed himself unto Joab and ran. Then said Ahimaaz the son of Zadok yet again to Joab, but howsoever let me, I pray thee, also run after Cushi. And Joab said, wherefore wilt thou run, my son, seeing that thou hast no tidings ready? But howsoever, said he, let me run. And he said unto him, run. Then Ahimaaz ran by the way of the plain and overran Cushi. He outran him back to tell the king. And so as the king awaited news in the city, the watchman saw a runner. He said, hey, here comes a runner. David said, well, that's somebody bringing news. Pretty soon he saw another runner. He said, here's another one. Well, he's got more news, David says. They're still a long ways off, but they can tell that these men are running. And the watchman was able to recognize it was Ahimaaz by the way that he ran. Kind of reminds me of old Jehu. They said Jehu is driving that chariot furiously. That was the way that he drove. They could recognize him a long ways off. And so here comes Ahimaaz. The watchman said, me thinking the running of the foremost is like the running of Ahimaaz, the son of Zadok. And the king said, he is a good man and cometh with good tidings. Ahimaaz, when he finally made it there to the king, he called and said unto the king, all is well. And he fell down to the earth upon his face before the king and said, blessed be the Lord thy God, which hath delivered up the men that lifted up their hand against my lord the king. Ahimaaz was a good man with a good message. He wanted to run and tell his king. He wanted to run so much that he outran the other messengers so that he could get there first. You know, I want to be like Ahimaaz. I want to be a man who's running with the good news of Jesus. You and I, we have got the best news in the whole wide world. And the way that God has ordained to get that news to people is through runners. It says in Romans chapter 10 and verse 14, how then shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how shall they believe in him of whom they have not heard? And how shall they hear without a preacher? And how shall they preach except they be sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel of peace and bring glad tidings of good things. Ahimaaz had beautiful feet, not because they looked a certain way, but because they worked. They worked really, really well. And he could run. He could run so fast that he outran Cushi to bring that good news to David. This is what Hebrews says, chapter 12, verses 1 and 2. It says, wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which doth so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. Will you run like Ahimaaz? Will you be the person who wants to take the glad tidings of the victory that our Lord Jesus has won for us against the enemy, the defeat of sin and death and hell and Satan? And will you run with that message? Will you be the one to come that people will say, hey, I can tell by the way they're running. That's a good man. That's a good woman. That's somebody who's bringing the good news. Let's hear what they have to say. We're all called to run with that message, and we're called to run with patience. It's a long ways. And maybe, just maybe, we need to be kind of like old Elijah, who outran Ahab's chariot off of the Mount Carmel down to Jezreel, to outrun the storm that was behind him. You and I, we're called to run with patience, to tell people about Jesus. So I want to encourage you. Let's run like Ahimaaz today. God bless you. Have a great day.